Well, I'm out here back in the garage where this all began. Hey, it's Aaron. Welcome to another Carnivore update. This is going to be my lab check-in. And don't go anywhere, because as always at the end of this video I'm going to put an inspirational comment I received. And I actually just got it this morning and I was like, oh man, wow. Do you know what? I'm going to do a little experiment, and I'm going to only eat meat. Essentially a zero carb diet. Some people call it a carnivore diet.
You had great patience, but something knocked you out. You felt your limitations and filled your mind with doubt. You want to stay chill right now and don't let your eyes off the prize. I know you want it to be easy, so let your guard down. And I said, see it in your mind, trust that have what it takes inside, 'cause you can make it too.
Maybe I should get on YouTube and see how they use this thing for real. I bought this 35-pound weight. I thought it was gonna be lighter than that. One thing's funny, last night I was sleeping and I had this dream that I had this weight with me in my dream, and I was just carrying it everywhere that I went. And I didn't realize it when I bought it. This is like how much weight that I lost. And I'm like, I carried this thing around with me all the time. The 35 pounds itself is a lot. That's like, it's almost 4 gallons of milk. I guess I could practice bringing in the groceries. It's been quite a roller coaster of a week. I had my doctor's appointment, my 4-month check-in since I started this diet, and I went into the doctor's office and had quite a bit of anxiety, and I felt stressed going in there. I was a little apprehensive, I guess definitely scared of what was going to happen. Stepped on the scale, they wrote down the numbers, and they didn't even notice I lost weight. It's like, oh man, you can't make this stuff up. To their credit, you know, once I said, you know, I dropped over 35 pounds, and they're like, oh, you did? Okay. And then afterwards, I was like, well, they didn't ask me how I did it. My blood pressure was up 145/84. I've had blood pressure problems, and are you taking your blood pressure medication? I'm like, well, I stopped taking it. I didn't get my last refill. I didn't go get it. And I was assuming that my blood pressure would be down, and I have a feeling that it was up high because of all the stress. I definitely felt stressed. So I think I'm gonna get a blood pressure monitor for myself and kind of watch my blood pressure for a little bit. They want me to get back on that blood pressure medication, and I can understand, like, blood pressure is not a thing to mess around with. It's up there at the top of the list of reasons, you know, things that contribute to heart attacks and stroke. I have a feeling that it is going to be way lower than that 140/84. I actually was watching a video the other day, again by Dr. Ken Berry, and he was essentially saying if it's under 140/90, you should be all right. And I have a friend who's a nurse. She said 180/20. I'm like, well, I guess I'll go with the higher number and only worry if it's over that a lot, right? If it's under that most of the time, then I guess I don't need to worry about it. But my guess is, as I continue on this zero carb, low carb diet, the carnivore diet that I'm on, I'm still very strict on my diet. I'm starting to think it's not a diet, like people are saying. It's a way of life. It's a way of eating. I have to, you know, this far in, I'm almost at 140 days. At this far in, I just think about food differently. It doesn't appeal to me the same as it used to. On one hand, I'm proud. It's like, because I could look back and see a different person. I just don't understand why that person desired all these foods that aren't good for you, that don't really help you nutritionally, that are kind of making you feel better maybe in the moment, but in the long run leading to diabetes and hypertension and so many potential medical problems. My labs came back, and wouldn't you know that my cholesterol and stuff is off the charts. Actually, my triglycerides are decent, but like there's a whole panel of, you know, your cholesterols, and they're like, oh, they sent me a message the next day saying that I should really consider taking a statin because my LDL is so high. But if you look at the whole of the panel that they did, I was a little bit over on their scale. I was just a little bit outside of that green area as a whole for whatever that panel is. I'm not a doctor. I don't know, but you know, sometimes I wonder if with just a little bit of research and reading and paying attention, like maybe I could be as smart as a doctor. I would just have to look up a lot of words and realize, oh, that word just means elbow. I had a bunch of anxiety that day, and I went in and I was discouraged because my blood pressure was high. The next day I woke up and I got that message and all my labs back, you know, and I got the message saying about the statin. I wasn't surprised, but it did say something in the message that I had dropped over 35 pounds from my last visit, and then it said something that my A1C level, which was 6.5 last time, the time before that was 6.6, another time it was 6.7, but this time it was 5.7. And I saw that and I was just like, oh, I felt like crying. I literally felt like crying because I have worked so hard for that. I worked so hard for that. And if you look at the panel, right, 5.7, like the guide that they gave me, 5.7 was the lowest number on that thing for essentially pre-diabetes. I'm like, my hard work, my determination, my stick-to-itiveness, the willpower, prayer, putting my stuff on YouTube, the accountability, all the encouraging words, all the good jobs and all the encouragement got me to this place, and I felt so good. And oh yeah, and then the next day is the day that I got that message saying, oh, we want to put you on a statin again. I'm like, oh my goodness, what am I supposed to do? I guess I'm gonna have to learn everything there is about blood pressure. I've been watching videos on it, and you know, risk factors when it comes to cholesterol. I need to learn everything about statins. I'm more worried about my blood pressure than I am about the high cholesterol and the statin, because I know that's a higher risk factor. So I want to get my blood pressure under check. And I'm not sure that reading they had was a good, accurate reading. But here's the thing. I was a little discouraged because they didn't ask me, oh, what kind of diet were you on? They didn't ask me much. It just seemed like they just wanted to put me on drugs again. They just wanted me to go straight towards drugs. And they're like, oh, well, the message literally said, I could probably put it in here, it's 5.7 and it's an improvement, but you're still have a risk factor, which, you know, I want some little personality in my notes, but I guess they're just stating the facts. Okay, well, here's a fact, Jack. I'm not quitting. I'm not giving up. I found a new way of eating. And the healthier and healthier my body gets, and the back in where it needs to be for my age, with working hard, putting in effort, making sure I don't get injured, making sure I stay mentally stable and just don't do crazy stuff, that will change. I guarantee all those will change. I can just feel that it's changed. And I could already tell that my blood pressure is lower because I could feel that my blood pressure is lower. But I can also tell when it's high now because of stress and some anxiety, right? I just didn't feel like my doctor really cared about me that much. To the doctor, I'm going to's credit, I haven't really started much of a conversation with a lot of things. I actually sound recorded the conversation so I could remember the words that were said. But to his credit, you know, when he found out that I had lost some weight, he said something like, "That's excellent," or "That's good." Heard horror stories about that, and when the doctors ask about how you did it and get all cringe on it, but he said that's excellent. So he was trying to be encouraging. I try to walk in people's shoes a little bit, and I often give a lot of empathy towards people because being in the medical field, I guarantee, is a difficult thing to do. Not many people want to have help. Most people just want a pill. I could just only imagine the amount of difficult people in there. That could be so trying. So I guess the responsibility at the end of the day isn't on my doctor or his staff or anything like that. The responsibility for my health is my responsibility. Only I can feel what's going on inside of me. Only I can feel what my heart's doing or what my brain's doing. Only I could feel my pain. I could try to express that to others, and maybe people with more education, knowing how to look for the problems, might be able to notice the things that I can't. But that does not change the responsibility from being my responsibility. Fortunately for me, I don't do anything alone. I have a wonderful wife who supports me, loves me, and cares for me. I have wonderful kids that keep me humble and thankful and high on adrenaline. But then I get lows because of that too. But I also have a God that I rely on, truth to stand on. So I'm not doing it alone, but it's still my responsibility. It's my job to communicate how I'm feeling with people also. So maybe I'll compile a message to my doctor that says, I am taking charge of my health. I would love to stay off medication at all possible. I want to stay off medications. I want to know how to battle these top risk factors. Let me work on these. We'll come back in a few months. We'll check these panels. And my guess is my body will have healed itself even more. Will I have problems? Probably. I'm turning 44 like next week. So my brain doesn't even know how old I am now. But as you're aging, things do change. When I was hitting that 90-day marker, I was really like, okay, I'm not going to be able to stop this diet. It was becoming very evident to me. But now I'm like, I don't need to stop this diet. I have no problem with this diet. This diet doesn't bother me. I'm not looking at food the way that I used to. I grew a jalapeno, but it's not a pino, so it's not spicy because I can't handle spicy food anyway, even before this diet. But I had one not a pino, and I was like, this is pretty good. Right? But I still am going back to the steak. And I did, by the way, I did make some mayonnaise out of bacon fat. Oh my goodness, that was a game changer. Game changer. And I was like, I used salt, eggs, bacon fat, and I'm like, it's missing something. I was like, well, it needs an emulsifier, but I got some stone ground mustard that has like no ingredients except for salt and mustard. Put a little bit in there. I was like, oh yeah, oh yeah. But I look at food differently also because the health part of it, I don't want all the sugars. I don't want all the processed food. I don't want any of that stuff. I just look at it differently because it's almost like when I gave up smoking 18 years ago. It was like it was hard at first, and then it got easier, and then it got easier and easier and easier. Next thing you know, I hated smoking, right? I hated it, and I got to a place where I hated what it had done to me. Like, I hated how chained by it I was. I hated how many times I probably was a total jerk to people because I didn't have a cigarette or money to buy cigarettes, and how many stupid things and bad decisions I made because I was trying to get something that I wanted, that I was addicted to. because it had me locked up, and I'm starting to feel that way about food. The one thing I learned about cigarettes is if you're a ex-smoker, yeah, you start easily get annoyed with people that do smoke, or you look down on them, judge them for it, like that's a waste of money, it's ruining your health, and you know, all that may be true, right? But I need to make sure that I am extra careful that I don't let my brain look down on people who are eating processed foods or that kind of stuff, because it's not necessarily the processed foods that's the problem. It's the way you look at them and how often you ran to them. Let's say I wanted to smoke again, which I don't. If I had one smoke every 3 months, do you think that would be a problem? No, right? You have to stay away from the extremes. The problem is sometimes with addictive stuff, you try one and you keep going. So you have to be really careful, and you have to pay attention to your real motives and the why. And if you start feeling like you're entitled to something because you earn it, that's a huge danger sign. Mate. Let's read this comment by Milas Odell. You gone and done it now. I am a 405-pound man with 3 kids and a wife that is sick as a dog most of the time. I drink too much, I eat too much, and I'm mad too much. But I'm feeling extremely motivated and inspired by your journey, and not just with the carnivore diet, but also your homestead journey as well. I've started the carnivore diet and I'm scared to death, but I'm doing it anyways. All the lies that we've been fed through our life about eating or not eating, what to eat, how to eat, it's crazy. I'm here to say that you have a new subscriber. Thank you, sir. Your content is awesome. Please keep it up. Side note, I am an urban homesteader trying to be, and we also raise rabbits. They are silver fox rabbits. I'm only 2 days in and I'm feeling better. No more drinking. It already has been 2 weeks for no booze. Looking forward to some more content, my man. Thank you so much for the inspiration and the motivation. No, thank you, Milos Odell, for all the inspiration and motivation that you're giving anyone that hears this or sees this comment. You can do it, man. Keep it up.